Hi, I'm Colleen Martin, the Administrative Director of Dallas County Democratic Party. Welcome to the DCDP Virtual Town Hall. Our series, we have a great session lined up being moderated by none other than Zach Bullard. Zach is a native of Dallas County. He started working at the party office when he was still in high school. He rose through the ranks to election coordinator for the 2016 primary election. He then founded his own political consulting firm. He managed the re-election campaign of Sheriff Lupe Valdez and various city council campaigns. For the past two primaries, he's managed the re-election campaign of DCDP Chair Carol Donovan. For the past two elections, he has served as the assistant director of the DCDP coordinated campaign. It's with great pleasure that I give you our moderator, Zach Bullard.
Thank you, Colleen, for that. And just want to thank everyone for being on today. I know it's one of our first warm afternoons that in a rainy weekend ahead. So there's lots of other great things that we could be doing. So thanks for taking your time out this afternoon. I know we've got a couple of our SDC members on here that are coming. We've got David Griggs from Senate District 16. We've got Jeff Strader from Senate District 23, and Kendall Scudder is on his way from Senate District 2. And I believe we have a couple others, Becky Arredondo and Susan Bradley. They're going to try to join this afternoon as well. So hopefully everybody that's on the Zoom call has had some familiarity with a state Democratic convention. It happens every 2 years, of course. All over the state, we've had them San Antonio, we had them in Dallas a couple years ago, and we were supposed to be in San Antonio this year, but with coronavirus, that got a little sidetracked. So I want to take a second before we get going and thank our sponsors. Josh, could you pop that graphic up for us? Because this would not be possible without all of our great sponsors. Tillotson Law Firm, Honorable Carol and Dan Donovan. Our meeting sponsors, Terry Barker, Precinct Chair from Coppell, Dr. Catalina E. Garcia, Hamilton Wingo LLP, Honorable Marcy Hilton, and Robert Book, and Scott Perez LLP. So major shout out to them for helping make this possible and keep this great series going along. So to get going, I want to hand it over to Jeff Strader first off to kind of tell us what's going on with everything. We just had our first round of ballots, and now we're going to be moving on to another round of ballots before we get to the main show. So Jeff, let us know kind of what is different from this convention compared to other ones.
Absolutely. And as you all may know, Texas has the largest state convention in the country. And the option of canceling the convention altogether just was not an option. And thanks to the TDP staff for really working hard and turning this around quickly to make it a virtual convention. As you can imagine, it's a difficult feat to conduct our party business as well as have convention sessions. So leading up to the general convention week, there's staggered voting. And so many of you may have received a ballot this last week. There was balloting for the standing committees that took place this week, and we have the results of those. So your Senate committee chairs may have shared with you who won in your district. But that was the first round of balloting. We'll have staggered voting for the different positions. Delegates will have a couple days, DNC members, as well as caucus chairs or the caucuses that elect individuals will have some balloting, as well as presidential electors. So there's staggered balloting, and there's also going to be committee meetings taking place. So that's a slight overview of kind of the pre-convention activity that's going on. Did I answer your question, Zach?
You did. So for those that might not be familiar, and we got David Griggs over here. I know he's having some connection problems. So David, let us know if you can't hear us or if you're coming through. David, you've been to several conventions. Let us know, for those that aren't familiar, what is the whole purpose of our convention and who do we elect at these said conventions?
Sure, Zach. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm outside. I left a little early for a little weekend trip, and so we stopped at a park so I could talk with you. So hopefully you can hear me. But to answer your question, yes, I've been to many conventions and had the privilege of serving as the SDEC committee man for quite a few recently. The purpose of the state convention is to do the business of the party that the party rules and state law requires us to do every 2 years. We obviously have a platform that we adopt. We consider and pass resolutions, pass rule changes to our Texas Democratic Party rules. And we elect a chair every 4 years. I don't think we're up for this time, but we have a chairman or chairperson of the party that we elect. And we elect the SDEC, which is essentially the board of directors of the party, which deal with things in between the conventions. The conventions actually make the law. It's like a corporate shareholders meeting. That's where the rules and laws are made. The board of directors are elected to run the show in between the shareholders meetings. So that's basically what we do. And I'm sorry, there is a chainsaw behind me, and it may be causing you to not hear me.
Quite all right, David. So, as you mentioned, we elect several positions, and there's several committees, correct, that we also get to vote on.
That's correct. As far as our voting, as far as the delegates, there are several convention committees, and we've actually already voted on those. The Platform Committee, Resolutions Committee, Rules Committee, Committee to elect various party officers and so forth. Those have been elected. And as Jeff sort of alluded to, we also elect our delegates to the National Convention. And we have a certain number, it's 200 something from Texas, that we send to the Democratic National Committee. And so the people who are supporting different candidates elect their delegates to go on to the National Convention if we get to have it live in August now in Milwaukee. So we have a lot to vote on. We also elect a presidential elector from our district. And if Biden wins, then the 38 electors who are elected will go on to Austin in December, right after the election, and then cast their vote for president. So we elect all of those people at this convention.
That's certainly something that we're going to be fighting for. I want to mention real quick on the bottom, if you're on the Zoom app, on the bottom right of your screen, there's a chat box. And if you have any questions that you'd like to send over to our guest about the convention, you have any wonderings about it, the ins and outs, please put them down there in the chat box. We're going to have some time here in just a little bit to submit your questions over to our guest. Kendall Scudder has joined us now.
Hey, Zach, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm holding up all right. Sorry, I was running about 5 minutes late. We were recording Pod Bless Texas.
No problem at all. So you've gone through the convention process a couple of times. So, let us know, why do you think we're going to be able to pull off this virtual event? Jeff was mentioning how it's a little different and we can't cancel it. Is it going to be just as exciting? That's always one of the best parts of the convention, right? On Friday night, we're sitting around for about 3 hours through some somewhat entertaining speeches, and then we get to a highlight. So what's going to keep us plugged in?
Look, my favorite part of convention is getting to drink with all of my friends after the convention, okay? So I get it, and I get that people get frustrated by not being able to have an in-person convention. But a lot like how whenever we all had to start social distancing, it was all about your headspace, right? If you went into social distancing thinking, man, I hate this is terrible, you were going to have a miserable time when you're social distancing. But if you went into social distancing thinking, man, this is a great opportunity to do things around my house, you probably enjoyed social distancing a bit more. It's the same concept. So this is actually the most accessible convention that we've ever had. There are no cost barriers that there used to be. So now, from the comfort of your own home, without having to buy a hotel, without having to trek all the way down to San Antonio, you get to participate in democracy from your own home. And that's such a great opportunity for a lot of folks who may not have been able to have the kind of loose change to be able to go where they needed to go. So I'm really excited about this virtual convention. It's made some things different. We're electing on a bunch of different ballots instead of doing it all at once. But who cares? We can all be adaptable. We're liberals. We're supposed to like change and be adaptable, right? So I think that we're going to be able to pull it off because we have a killer TDP staff that's working their tail ends off to make it happen. I'm not always in the loop on everything that's happening, unfortunately, but whenever you have to plan things in such short notice, sometimes balls get dropped. There's going to be problems. Humans are humans, but look what we get to do, guys. We get to connect with Democrats from all over the state of Texas, from every county in the state of Texas, all on a shared mission of taking back our democracy. And now there are no barriers to your ability to be able to engage in it. We even have ways of avoiding barriers for people who don't have access to internet. So I am really excited about experiencing a different kind of convention. I've been going to conventions now for about 15 years. And this is going to be a nice change of scenery for us. I'm stoked about it.
I definitely concur. We're going to miss some of the fun parts. So hopefully in the next one, it will get like that. Something that I guess we won't miss is the random people just coming and slapping a sticker on you saying, vote for me. Okay.
That used to be a really prevalent thing. And then we started using convention halls that didn't allow stickers. And then a bunch of strangers would try to poke you with buttons. And so, now you don't have to spend all that money. Just send your emails and call your delegates and campaign for your seats. And, then we're going to have new leadership for our party, or we won't have new leadership for our party. Whatever you want to do as a delegate. It's just so accessible this year. And I'm really excited about that as an opportunity to open up engagement in the party.
Jeff, I wanted to toss this to you. I know that I've personally got some questions that have come in on this over the last couple of weeks. How are our caucuses going to work? I know we have a disability caucus, the Stonewall, Hispanic. Yeah. So what's the plan for those? Is it going to be separate timing or during the main week?
So the uniqueness this time is that caucuses are voting before their meeting. So you'll start getting that ballot next Thursday, but the caucuses will actually not meet until convention week. If you're in a caucus, you may have received a communication. Some have sent them, but those items will be sent via email. But the balloting does take place on Thursday. There's some unique races. I know that the Hispanic caucus has almost 20 men running for the one chair position. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. There have been some meetings leading up to the convention. I know the Tejano Democrats, which is a club, is having a meeting this evening leading up to the convention to invite candidates for the Hispanic caucus chairs. And so there are some meetings, if you're a member of them. I know the 23rd Senate District, we did not have an official caucus meeting, but we had a district pre-convention Zoom similar to this, and we had a lot of fun. We covered some business, and then we were showing babies and dogs and whatnot. So it was a lot of fun to meet together. But Senate districts will not have caucus meetings officially. Several districts are figuring out what they can do. As you can imagine, technology and a variety of things are challenges, but the caucuses will be run during the week of the convention.
Okay. So David, toss it back over to you real quick. Something that comes up is delegates. So if you want to be a national delegate, that filing has already taken place. But sometimes the question is, how does it get decided? Essentially, one candidate, how many Bernie delegates do there get to be? How many that point?
Well, Zach, you broke up a little bit there because I'm out in the country at a state park. But I think you said, how does the delegate situation work and how is it allocated? It all depends on the primary. The vote on March the 3rd that determined the breakdown between Biden and Bernie and Bloomberg. Biden got the lion's share of the delegates. Bernie got some as well, and Bloomberg got just a few. And so not all Senate districts will get a Bloomberg delegate. My Senate district, 16, gets one. But for example, how it works in Senate District 16, we have 3 Biden delegates, 2 Bernie delegates, and 1 Bloomberg delegate. And so many Senate districts are broken down similar to that. But there's clearly more Biden delegates that will be going to the national convention than Bernie delegates. But it's in approximately that 3-2-1 ratio because Senate District 6 got 6 delegates of the ones that we're sending to Milwaukee.
Okay. And then we also have several caucuses, as we were talking about. If somebody remind us which caucuses do we elect? I can't remember all of them on the top of my head.
You're talking about all of the issue caucuses?
Correct.
Is that what you're doing? Okay, well, we have women's caucuses, we have a labor caucus, there's the LGBTQ caucus, there's the environmental caucus, I think there's a fair trade caucus, various issues throughout the party. They're important. There may be a healthcare one. There used to be a technology caucus. So those are the options that we have. And if you remember when you signed up, there was a list that you could check. So you picked the caucuses that you wanted to participate in. And so whichever ones you selected, you will get emails and inviting you to vote and participate. Stonewall Caucus, for example, Jeff can tell you more about that. But if you're a part of that Stonewall Caucus, if you signed up for it, then you'll get to vote for the chair or president of the Stonewall organization, for example.
And that's correct. I think it's important to keep in mind that every caucus does not vote at the convention. The Coalition of Black Democrats do not. They vote for their leadership on an off-year cycle from the convention, and so that there will not be a vote taken there. But there are going to be ballots sent to individuals who have signed up ahead of time to specific caucuses, and many of those that David named off. So there won't be elections for every caucus, but there will be for some. So, and you will get caucus-specific ballots will arrive Thursday. And the reason why I know this is because I've told so many people that it was Wednesday, but it's actually Thursday. So if you got an email from me that voting starts on Wednesday, it's actually on Thursday. So all of us are very confused, not very confused. We're all learning about this all together. I told my Senate district, this is a lot of work, but it's fun and we're keeping up with party business in a virtual way. We're not letting down the members of our party by, eliminating these things. We're continuing them, and it's very exciting to do it this way.
And Zach, let me add one more thing. We are doing something different. I think we're the first national state party trying this electronic process. And so the whole DNC and the whole country is looking to Texas sort of to blaze the trail for this new concept of a convention. And it's all new to us. So hopefully you won't be frustrated. Hopefully you will learn with the rest of us. But we are truly blazing a new trail. And if things don't improve by August, the DNC may be calling us for advice as to how to do a national convention online.
Hopefully we're leading the way.
Well, we are.
Kendall, another thing that is normally very relevant and present in our state conventions is some of the trainings and the side activities. So unless we're going to have a representative insert name Zoom party at 11 o'clock on Friday night, that may not happen, but what can we expect as far as trainings and some of the sideshow activity?
I don't know that I'm the best person to ask that one to, Zach. I know that there's a lot of activity that's still being scheduled and that's being distributed around. It kind of like when you go to the convention in person, you just kind of have to always have your ears perked up to figure out exactly what all's going on. Senate District 2, which is my Senate district, it's a lot. We did similarly to Senate District 23, where we had a pre-convention meeting, but we're not doing a caucus at our actual convention or whatever that means. So, you know, everybody's kind of getting to choose how to do and operate their own, you know, programming that's happening. I would make sure, if you're a delegate, that you bookmark the website, texasdemocraticconvention.com. I've been using that a lot, and I think it'll be helpful for you too. On texasdemocraticconvention.com, you'll be able to find a lot of resources for delegates, like schedules of things that are happening, who has filed for the different offices you're about to have to vote for, who has withdrawn from the caucuses or for all of the things that you're about to have to vote for. And there's a whole lot of information for those of you who may not be familiar in the loop. And so just constantly be checking texasdemocraticconvention.com to see what scheduling updates are going to be coming your way. That's what I would recommend for folks, because it's going to change. Like, even if there's a block of scheduled things out right now, things ebb and flow a bit. So bookmark that website through this convention, in my opinion.
Okay. Before we move on any further, I want to take a second again to thank our sponsors. As we mentioned, we've got a few people that have joined on with us since then. And Josh is getting those put up for us. The Tillotson Law Firm, Honorable Carol and Dan Donovan, Honorable Terry Barker, Dr. Catalina E. Garcia, Hamilton Winko, LLP, Marcy Helfin, and Bob Book, Scott Perez, LLP. We give you a major shout out for helping organize this and helping us keep this go on together. Also, we've got a couple folks in with us. Honorable Harriet Earhart, former Texas State Representative from House District 107. And also I see Senator Royce West on the call with us today as well. Obviously, they've seen quite a few conventions, and this is a first for everybody. So Jeff, I believe you have a couple of questions that you've got submitted over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was one that was submitted to all of us. So I'm reading it over here, and it asks if the caucus meetings during the convention will be recorded for later viewing. And many of the meetings are going to be on Zoom, and I'm sure they're going to be integrated with Facebook Live, like this meeting. And so the assumption would be that they would be available to view at a later date, like most things that are on Facebook Live. So I would say that is a yes. There's another question, and it says, I'm in Senate District 16, and I would love to be a Biden delegate, but I know I'm getting involved late. So there's two different answers to this. One is that it's too late to be a delegate to the Texas Democratic Convention. You can be a guest. It's also too late to file to run as a national delegate. So in case that was the question, if you would like, if you know somebody who wants to be a part of the proceedings, but they're not an official delegate, you can go to the website texasdemocraticconvention.com and get your virtual pass for the convention. And so that will allow you to view the convention proceedings on Friday and Saturday of the convention. There will be the general sessions, and then Saturday night we have the very exciting debate between our two nominees in the runoff for U.S. Senate. Of course, my Senator Royce West will be part of that. Very excited to see that. But there will be opportunities to view things later, with the assumption that it's on Facebook Live and recorded on Zoom. And that's actually a great question, because I'll provide the feedback to the state party that there's an interest in it. Let's see, the other question is about when the caucuses are going to be. They will be published as part of the schedule that's going out. And so you'll see that. I don't believe they're listed quite yet on the schedule. I've been checking, but they will be during that convention week. And so that's the key thing to keep in mind. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity, though. I know a lot of times people are frustrated because we try to cram everything into one day. the Friday of the convention, and sometimes 2 caucuses are at the same time. I know that when I was still young, they would always, for some reason, put the Texas Stonewall Caucus Convention up against the same time as the Texas Young Democrats, which never made any sense. But because of Friday and so many caucuses, many times there is an overlap. And so with this schedule, things are spread out a little bit more and we don't run into that problem. So there's some great opportunities by doing this virtually this year. I think that's all the questions I see so far.
Awesome. So we have a question here from Annette Krause on the Facebook Live. What happens if you see a caucus and you signed up a few months ago, you didn't click on that caucus, but now you want to participate in it? Is there something you can do? Can you still join in to be able to vote, or at least join in to participate somehow?
So the voting is starting on Thursday. The ballots are being sent to individuals who selected the caucuses on their registration form. And so it's my understanding that the convention, these opportunities to make the changes in your caucus are no longer available. You could attempt by contacting, and we haven't mentioned this yet, there is a convention help desk. It's a link that exists on the website of the convention, and I can find it and put it in chat, or at least post it. If you do have any technical problems, or if you feel like you're not getting emails about the convention, please reach out to that help desk. Any emails that are coming from the convention will be, and this has been communicated early, they come from the sender of convention chair, and they will start off with convention business : and identify what it is. And so if you feel like you haven't been getting emails, I do recommend, and I did this myself, I searched for every email from convention chair to make sure that I was keeping up. And you'll notice, like, sometimes you might have to refer back to an email to get what's your convention ID in order to vote. So it's important to look out for those convention chair emails. And it looks like David Griggs has mentioned that he has a comment. So David.
Yeah, Zach, if you'll unmute me for just a minute, because I'm probably going to have to run here in a minute. I'm kind of not in a great place, but I did want to tell you all that if you have questions that come up, feel free to contact your convention chairs and SDEC committee people. We communicate regularly with our delegates. They have lots of questions. They email us, they call us, they text us. But we're here to help you and answer those questions if you have individual questions. So please feel free to do that. The other thing I wanted to say before I go is that during the week of the convention, there's going to be a unique opportunity for everybody to participate in the discussion of the platform and the resolutions. We're actually going to get to vote up and down on the platform and on those resolutions. So there will be some interesting and exciting things to do and to participate online. I think there's going to be 2 channels that the party's going to broadcast, one for party business, the other for speeches and so forth from candidates. So watch for those links, and I hope all of you will participate that week and get something out of it, because we're excited about what's coming.
Good. And David, if somebody does have some questions about Senate District 16 specifically, and hopefully you can stick around with us a little bit longer, what would be the best way for them to get in contact with you? And we can put that in the chat room down here for you too.
Please contact either Susan or me. Most of our delegates get regular emails from us. My email is wdgriggs@yahoo.com, wdgriggs@yahoo.com. So feel free to send me directly a email, or to the joint email that most of the Senate District Group gets their emails from us.
There we go. Thank you, sir. Kendall, I wanted to ask you if you could expand a little bit with all these committees. We've talked about these committees, we've talked about the things that we're electing, but what does the platform committee do? What does the resolutions committee do? What are we electing them to actually represent us on?
Yeah, guys, there tends to be two different types of people that go to a convention, right? There's the people that go because they want the rah-rah speeches, which is awesome. And then there are people that go because they want to conduct party business. And where you conduct party business is going to be in these committees. It's too late to file and run for those, and we've already elected a lot of them, but you should look out for the work that they're doing so that you can kind of follow what's happening at the convention. I'll kind of go through them quickly for you, but like for my district, Senate District 2, our district's a little bit different than most of the Dallas County Senate districts because we have a large swath of rural counties right outside of Dallas as well. So we have 9 counties in our district. And so we've been regularly hosting kind of Zoom calls. We sent out a big delegate guide that outlined this information. So if you're in Senate District 2, please make sure that you're checking your email or your spam folder, because we've been regularly emailing folks trying to keep them up to date with all of this. And we even put together this handy little delegate guide for you that'll explain this for you. But I'll start with like the credentials committee. If you're a person who has ever looked at the DNC or the TDP and you think, man, there's so much funny business and I feel like the thumbs are on the scale, credentials is a really good committee for you to pay attention to and to go to and see what's going on, because that's who approves our delegates to being a part of the like credentialed members of the delegate role. And so that's our way of having transparency so that we know who all the people that are voting are and make sure the right people are that actually qualify are the ones that are voting. This year, they're being very lenient because of the way that these local caucuses and conventions have been happening. But the credentials is important for you there. If you're a person that thinks that you don't like what the party stands for on a certain issue, or you want it to go further, or there's something that you don't feel that we're strong enough on, the platform committee is a good committee for you to observe and pay attention to. The platform committee just essentially writes what we're doing. And I hear that this year they're doing a huge overhaul on what our platform is. And so that'll be a really good committee for you to participate or to review. There's a nominations committee, which sounds really boring, but nominations committee is actually one of the most influential committees of the convention. The nominations committee is who decides who all of the delegates to the national convention are going to be, in conjunction with the presidential preference committee, and they help decide who the new DNC members are going to be, working with the issue caucuses that are happening, and then they'll bring that to the floor for a large vote of all the delegates in attendance. So nominations committee is very, very, very important. Then you have like a resolutions committee, things that you want the party to take a stand on that probably don't belong in the platform, right? So an example that I like to use is last convention, Senate District 2, which is the eastern side of Dallas County, we wanted to take a stand on the 635 corridor because in our district, for some reason, that's where the road starts to suck and it's great everywhere else. So Senate District 2 pushed out a resolution supporting the expansion of the 635 corridor. That probably doesn't belong in the TDP platform, right? But you may want the party to be able to take a stand on that. So the resolutions committee is important for doing things like that. And then there is the rules committee. They're the ones who decide that all of this is happening and how it's going to be done. If you don't like the way that our conventions are run, if you don't like the way your county chairs are elected, if you don't like the way your precinct chairs are elected, there are some statutory regulations we have to follow with the legislature to make sure we're in compliance with state law. But aside from that, that is where you make the rules of the party for you to be able to function in the next 2 years and to approve the rules changes that the SDEC has made over the last 2 years. So those are kind of the committees that exist that are going to be doing the convention work. You should already know who those people are going to be from your Senate district. And if you have strong opinions, those people ran and were elected, and you should bug the hell out of them and let them know what's important to you, because when they go and sit on that committee, they are bringing your voice from our community to that committee. So find out who your people are in the committees that are important to you and track those suckers down.
So to expand on that kind of same topic, Kendall, we have 2 sets of delegates that go to the national convention. We have people that get elected from our Senate districts based on the vote totals that each candidate received. And then we have at-large delegates. And from my understanding, there were some changes to that this year. And is there any difference between them at all?
Yeah, so your at-large delegates are elected by the full state, essentially by the nominations committee, and then approved by the convention at large. Um, and then they have pleo delegates, which are like party leaders and elected official delegates. So that nominations committee will get to pick who those folks are. They have the same role at the national convention. So if you're an at-large delegate versus if you're a Senate district delegate, you don't have any difference in what you do at the national convention. However, the process to get you selected is a little bit different. So you know they also use the at-large delegates to try to balance our affirmative action goals for the state. So we want our Texas delegation to look like Texas. Unfortunately, we find a lot of times that the leadership in our party or participation in our party is not reflective of who the people in Texas actually are. And so we have goals set to make sure that the delegates we're sending range in age, range in race, range in religion, range in what their activism, like if you're a member of the labor community or you're not. There are a lot of different goals that we have to make sure that we hit percentaged out. And so they use those at-large delegates to balance out. So like I filed to try to be an at-large delegate because I wanted to make sure that people in my Senate district had an opportunity and I didn't want to run against any of them. But the odds of me getting picked at large, not really high, guys, because I am a white dude and there are plenty of white dudes that tend to get represented, right? So they use those at-large delegates to try to make sure that we have some equity in who we're sending to the national convention.
Okay. So we have also heard lots of things thrown around this afternoon. SDC and David Griggs talked fairly deeply about that. And you guys are basically, and gals are basically a board of directors. It's one male, one female from each Senate district, plus some other caucus groups that add on. But then we also have the DNC. So who gets to vote for the DNC? What do they do? And again, who gets to impact and interact with them as far as the convention goes?
Is this one for me, Zach?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, the process for electing DNC members, it's fairly simple. However, it can be a little confusing to people who haven't engaged in the convention process before. A lot of these DNC members are selected by their respective caucuses. We have rules. Actually, we just kind of cemented the rules or we were working to cement the rules to try to highlight it. But in the past, it's just sort of been a gentleman's agreement that we will make sure we have DNC members that reflect the different factions of our party. So there are DNC members that are elected by the non-urban caucus so that we have rural representation. DNC members elected from the LGBT caucus, the Hispanic caucus, the Black caucus, and it goes through to make sure that we have, you know, an expansive representation there. So what they'll typically do is in your caucuses that you have chosen to be a part of, you will get a ballot to select who your DNC members will be. So like, there's no reason that somebody here in Dallas that's never been rural and doesn't identify as rural should be picking who a rural representative would be, right? So there's no reason that someone who isn't a member of the labor community should be picking who the labor representative is. So it's picked within your caucus. And then once those caucuses have selected who they want their representative to be, they send that to the nominations committee, and the nominations committee makes sure that it reaches all of our goals and that you have gender parity and that it's being fair to everyone involved. There are also at-large DNC members, which just means statewide. They don't have to fit into a category, but those are usually used to help balance out our affirmative action goals to make sure that any delegation that we send from Texas looks like Texans.
Perfect. That's good to know that we're doing everything we can as a party to make sure everything balances. I know Jeff was having some Wi-Fi issues, so I'm going to toss this one back to you again.
Okay, that's fine.
As far as security, I know we've been targeted with this in the past in 2018, 2016 with some Russian bots and things like that. Is there an added level of security to ensure that everything is going to go smoothly in the week of and with all of our balloting?
Yeah, so what they are doing, if you've already cast your ballot, you see that they are using Google Sheets kind of for you to be able to cast what your ballot is. And you have a convention ID that's regularly changing. So make sure that you're always looking for what your updated convention ID is. Your convention ID is what we use to make sure that you are actually the one casting your ballot. And it's hard to you can't cast a ballot without your convention ID. It won't go through. So it's kind of the equivalent of you showing up to your polling place and not having, you know, your voter registration card. You have to have that ID in order to vote. You can find that ID in the emails that are coming to you from the state party. Again, as Jeff said earlier, if you don't feel like you have gotten any emails, then you certainly need to check your spam folder, because you should have been inundated with emails by now. I know in our Senate district, me and my counterpart, Kristen Schamberger, have already sent probably 5 or 6 emails. So like everybody should be getting a bunch of emails from the state party and from their SDEC members telling them how things are going. So if you check your spam, or just do a search on your email for convention business, or maybe convention chair, just search convention, scroll through and look. But they regularly send you emails, and my convention ID has been updated 3 times. So you're going to regularly get updates on your convention ID. And that's how we're making sure that people are getting secure ballots. I do see, Zach, that there are a couple of questions that are listed here on the side. Oh, you had already read one of those. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was getting their questions answered. I knew Jeff was doing that earlier, and I wanted to pick up where he wasn't at. So sorry about that.
No big deal. No big deal. Real quick, if Senator West is still on here, which I believe he is, I'd like to give him and Honorable Earhart just a minute to say hi. I don't see Senator West on here anymore, but we can unmute Representative Earhart to say hello. I think that would be great. Maybe not. It doesn't look like she has her audio connected. Okay, well, we'll just keep moving along. If she does get it, then we'd be happy to bring her in real quick. So there we go. There's Jeff Strader. We'll bring him back in real quick. And Josh, if you could bring the sponsors up one more time for us so we can give them another shout out. There we go. Thank you, sir. So one more time, just want to make sure we give thanks to Tillotson Law Firm, Honorable Carol and Dan Donovan, Honorable Terry Barker and Dr. Catalina E. Garcia, Hamilton Wingo LLP, and Honorable Marcy Helfand and Robert Book, and Scott Perez LLP as our friendship sponsors. So thank you to them for everything that they have done to help continue our series moving forward. Jeff, now that you're back on, kind of let us know. I know Kendall talked briefly about this as far as things that go into the platform and credentials and all of that. If somebody wants to view one of the committee meetings for platform, let's say, or resolutions, let's say, or they want to push something, what should they do? Who should they get in contact with, or how can they find that information?
Well, each one of our Senate districts has elected committee members. And so I think that would be a first place to ask would be your Senate district's committee member. Each committee also has been appointed a chair by the state party chair, as well as I think some at-large members as well. So those are some key people to follow. I haven't seen yet. I've seen the committee meetings on the schedule, and so there's on the party convention website, there's 2 different schedules. There's one that's just like a general schedule for the week, but there's also what's called a delegate schedule. On the delegate schedule, it has the dates of voting, but it also has when those convention committees are meeting. So at least we know when they're meeting. So I don't know if the proceedings will be on Zoom. I mean, I'm assuming they are. because everything's virtual, right? So I'll take that as a takeaway to find out, and I'll let you know, Zach, and we can post in the recording or the kind of comments of this event on Facebook. But a really good start would be going to your the people who were elected out of your district to find out.
Okay. And I wanted to get a slight clarification. So our convention ID is changing quite often. Is it going to change like a certain number of times before we ballot, or every time we have a new ballot every few days? What's the process that's on that we should be?
I was surprised that it does change. However, I believe it's changing because of security and privacy and security issues. And I think there was a question I saw from Catherine McGovern regarding the cybersecurity of Zoom. I know that the party, ever since last year, when the DNC was a subject to cybersecurity issues, the FBI and the government had worked with state parties across the country, including ours, that had experienced some hacking attempts. And so I know that the state party does take that very seriously. But the convention ID is part of the process. It's part of the, protecting the ballot and protecting information as well. So.
Okay. And I think we might have got Representative Earhart. Can you hear us, Representative? Maybe not. Just wanted to give her one more go. Okay, well, we're approaching 5 o'clock now. I want to thank everyone again for joining us. To close out, gonna toss it back to Kendall first, and then to you, Jeff. Give us any more updates that we need, and whatever else that you'd like to say as we close out.
The first thing, brag about how and it's just such a wonderful place. Y'all know it's close to my heart because I ran for the Senate there as well. And we just have so much fun as just members of the party in our Senate district. It's such a diverse district where there are people that stretch all the way up to the Red River from Fannin County, folks that are in Canton and Sulphur Springs and Rockwall and Greenville and Terrell that are all coming together, from very different walks of life, with people that are from Dallas and Mesquite and Garland, and really pushing forward with what our shared views are for the future of our country. There's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of people, arguing this year because of how many candidates we had running in our presidential primary. But I think that what conventions like this do best is they convey to folks that regardless of whether you were on team A or team B or team C, we're actually all on the exact same team. And what you can argue all day about our disagreements on how we're going to provide increased access to healthcare to a bunch of people. But at the end of the day, we're the only party that's actually talking about increasing access to healthcare for people. The Democratic Party means so much to me and to the delegates in Senate District 2, and I'm sure to you as well. And just joining and being a part of this convention, it's just like being able to go to church, man. Like I love it. It just gives me a revival every time I get to do it. And so I just appreciate y'all. I am here to be a resource for you if you have questions about the convention. For what I know that my counterpart, Kristen Schamberger from Hunt County, she also represents parts of Dallas County. She would be happy to help you as well. Never hesitate to reach out to us. We are all about opening the party up, increasing participation in this party, and making sure that we take our democracy back in November. So thank you all for your engagement in this process, and let's get through this convention and get this job done in November.
Thank you, Kendall. And Jeff, over to you. And I know we have a question from Vicky. If you'll
Hey, Vicky. So Vicky asked, how are delegates to the Electoral College elected? And so the Electoral College members, we call them presidential electors, and that voting is starting very soon. So there's individuals who have filed ahead of time. They will be on the ballot. I believe the ballot is being delivered maybe Monday. Is that correct? Because I just got an email from one of ours on the 23rd who's running. So the individuals are actually elected by our party rules. We're elected by Senate district. Other states elect theirs by congressional district. We elect ours by Senate district. And so that process will begin in the next couple of days of those individuals who are elected. The number of electors is based on the Democratic vote in the individual Senate districts. So some Senate districts have more than others. And those individuals, if elected, or if Texas goes for, or when Texas goes for Biden, the electors from our party will then go to Austin and cast their electoral college votes. I believe I got that right, guys? Or close? So yeah, we've never done it before. So it's always, this dream that we've had. And so hopefully it'll come true this year.
1974, right?
74, yeah, probably when Carter, so 76.
76, okay, well, forgive me. It was a little bit before my time. Okay, well, Jeff, do you have anything else that you'd like to add as we close out?
I think pretty much, Kendall gave a great summary. I think, and this really mirrors my comment from the beginning. This, of course, was a difficult decision by the party to make to go virtual, but it was our only choice other than just to cancel the whole thing altogether. But at any point, there might be some road bumps, and we ask you all to kind of hang in there. There is the opportunity, if you have any problem with voting or any other issue, there is the help desk. There's also a phone number too, and it appears in some of the delegate communications. There's a helpline as well. So there are opportunities to get assistance. I think I saw Linda Coleman is in the meeting. Linda had an issue with voting this last week, and it was resolved quickly by the help desk. And so there are opportunities for help through this process. So have fun and enjoy it.
Before we leave, I wanted to share the TexasDemocraticConvention.com website. It is just straightforward Texas spelled out, democraticconvention.com. There is lots of great information on here already. If you do need to get some more, including that help desk down here at the bottom of the page and a phone number that you can call if you do have any more questions. And there's also a schedule to help walk through what's going on. This is the schedule. It looks to be for the week of that first week of June, which is June 1st to the 4th, I believe, are the dates, ending on Saturday with the Saturday night debate between Senator West and MJ Hager. And then also here on the menu, you're able to see convention and delegate information. So if you're wondering who's filed for certain things like SDC or elector or anything, a national delegate for your particular Senate district, that is on here as well as the rules are going to guide the convention and so on. There's also the public list of delegates. If you're wondering, gee, did I sign up back in March? It's definitely been a lot of news headlines that have gone on, and maybe you've just forgotten if you did get in. There is the public state delegate list that has everybody's basic information on there if you want to go double check for you or a friend. So TexasDemocraticConvention.com is a great spot to get started. So with that, I want to say thank you again to everybody for joining us this afternoon and for coming out and getting your questions answered. If you do have anything else, you can always submit something to Kendall or your local state Democratic Executive Committee person. Our sponsors, one more time, Tillotson Law Firm and Honorable Carolyn Dan Donovan as our series sponsors. Meeting sponsors, Honorable Terry Barker, Dr. Catalina E. Garcia, Hamilton Wingo, and Robert Book, Marcy Helfin, and Scott Perez, LLP. We couldn't do it without them. Also the great staff, the Dallas County Democratic Party, that have put this together and gotten the word out and gotten a great meeting put together for us this afternoon. So thank you so much for everyone that came out today. Hope you have a great weekend.